It's always great to see actors venturing out of their comfort zone and surprising us all with a performance we didn't know they had in them. But it's also fair to say that sometimes an acting job is just an acting job. Something a performer takes to pay the bills or pass the time, and as a result, it might not muster much passion or enthusiasm from them. Then there are times when a brilliant actor simply miscalculates a performance, taking a bold acting swing with an accent, a tone, or even a wardrobe choice that ends up kneecapping their work for the entirety of the film. So, with that in mind, I'm Ellie for What Culture, and these are 10 actors who just gave their worst performance ever. Want to stay safe online and save big? Get up to 76% off a 2-year NordVPN plan, plus 4 months free and up to a $50 Amazon gift card. Just scan the QR code or click the link in the description and it's all yours. Number 10, Nicolas Cage, Gunslingers. Much as the great Nicolas Cage has enjoyed one hell of a career resurgence in recent years, even the most die-hard worshippers at the altar of Cage will struggle to defend his work in the low-budget western thriller Gunslingers. Cage plays Ben, a mysterious resident of the town of Redemption, and seemingly sensing the opportunity to do whatever the hell he wants without pushback, Cage decides to perform the entire role with a bafflingly rasped voice and hilariously stereotypical Southern accent that's mere inches away from sounding like an actual cartoon. Granted, the script doesn't give Cage much at all to work with, but even as unexpected comic relief, the actor's work falls pretty flat, bar the odd, mildly amusing one-liner. Much as it's oft repeated that Cage has never been an actor to phone it in, not even on low-rent straight-to-streaming projects like this, Gunslingers absolutely stretches the credibility of that claim to near snapping point. Above all else, it's one of the very few films where Cage's presence alone barely feels like a value add at all. Number 9, Millie Bobby Brown, The Electric State. Now, there's no denying the meteoric ascent that Millie Bobby Brown has enjoyed as an actress since starring in Stranger Things. Beyond her popularity in Netflix's sci-fi series, she's also shone in Enola Holmes and proved herself the easy highlight of the otherwise mediocre fantasy flick Damsel. But Brown gave her first misfire of a performance earlier this year in the Russo brothers' disappointing clangor of a blockbuster, The Electric State. On paper, Brown seems well cast as teen protagonist Michelle Green, yet gives a strangely wooden performance throughout. Her interplay with the cast, especially Chris Pratt's John D. Keats, is disappointingly airless, and even her usual reliable American accent wavers at times. Considering that a substantial amount of Millie Bobby Brown's dialogue appears to have been replaced through ADR, it's entirely possible the Russos attempted to paper over the accent issue in post-production, albeit mostly unsuccessfully. Brown will likely rebound from this just fine with the upcoming 5th season of Stranger Things and Enola Holmes 3, but her subpar work here is yet further proof that casting is a true art, far above merely flinging a hot rising star into a splashy tentpole project. Number 8, John Krasinski, Fountain of Youth. John Krasinski is a perfectly solid actor who has proven himself skilled as both a goofy comedian and a more serious-minded dramatic performer. But he was so fatally miscast in Guy Ritchie's new action-adventure romp, Fountain of Youth, that he ended up giving a career-worst performance. Krasinski plays protagonist Luke Perdue, an archaeologist turned art thief who is clearly supposed to be a slick, cocky, ultra-confident adventurer, and it just isn't a register that comes naturally to the actor at all. John Krasinski is so good at playing wholesome characters, but he seems lost trying to convince as a wisecracking, endlessly witty take on the likes of Indiana Jones, The Mummy's Rick O'Connell, and even Uncharted's Nathan Drake. This part desperately needed an actor who could more persuasively play the likeable a-hole rogue. Perhaps someone like Chris Evans rather than Krasinski. An actor to whom every line and inflection in this movie feels incredibly laboured. Granted, it's not like the script gave him a whole lot to work with either, so there's that. Number 7, Mark Ruffalo, Mickey 17. Mark Ruffalo is about as reliably great as actors get. But even he is capable of delivering an off-key performance, as he proved with his wildly miscalculated turn in Bong Joon-ho's Mickey 17. Ruffalo plays the film's overarching villain, an egomaniacal politician by the name of Kenneth Marshall, who many immediately pegged as a Donald Trump caricature, despite Ruffalo and Bong's rather dubious claims to the contrary. Either way, Ruffalo's off-putting, all-teeth performance sticks out like a sore thumb, dragging an otherwise intriguing sci-fi black comedy into eye-rollingly on-the-nose territory on par with a bad SNL skit. Sure, Ruffalo succeeds in as much as he instantly makes the audience loathe Marshall, but most all of his comedic intent to make Marshall a figure of easy ridicule is a bust. And with the unavoidable parallels to the current POTUS, it feels like Ruffalo is rather lazily taking aim at the lowest of low-hanging fruit with his tiresomely exaggerated performance. Number 6, Milla Jovovich in The Lost Lands. While nobody gets out of Paul W.S. Anderson's new action fantasy schlockfest in The Lost Lands without taking a few dings to their dignity, this just might mark the tipping point for the array of uninspired screen collaborations between director Anderson and his wife Milla Jovovich. Though Jovovich made for a kick-ass lead in Anderson's increasingly dire Resident Evil franchise, here she's basically just offering up a warmed-over retread of the same played-out routine as Witch Grey Alice. Neither Jovovich nor co-star Dave Bautista, who is worth noting is also not great, are able to rise above the scripted limitations of this dire George R.R. Martin adaptation, and their patent lack of chemistry only makes it even more of a chore to sit through. Jovovich certainly has talent and screen presence, but she's never given a more phoned-in performance than this one, and one could sensibly assume that she was decidedly less invested in the work here than in the Resident Evil films. Number 5, Ralph Macchio, Karate Kid Legends. For all but the most easily pleased of fans, Karate Kid Legends was a sure disappointment. A shocking failure to deliver on the marketing's promise of uniting the two disparate eras of Karate Kid under one roof. This is largely down to the lack of substantial screen time given to both the original Karate Kid, Daniel LaRusso, and the mentor from the 2010 remake, Mr. Han. But at least Jackie Chan turns up for work looking engaged and enthusiastic. Ralph Macchio? Less so. Now, it doesn't help that Machio has considerably less screen time than Chan. But even so, for the 20 or so minutes he's actually in the movie, he gives a strangely disengaged, low-energy performance. And as a result, Daniel's interactions with Mr. Han are a huge disappointment. And he doesn't muster any meaningful chemistry with the new Karate Kid, Li Fong, either. Despite all the good work that Ralph Macchio has done on the Cobra Kai spin-off series, his work here ends up feeling like a begrudging contractual obligation, rather than something he was actually enthusiastic about doing. Number 4, Ariana DeBose, Love Hurts. For anyone doubtful that the post-Oscar curse is a real thing, consider Ariana DeBose's career since winning an Oscar in 2022 for her superb performance in West Side Story. Every single film DeBose has been a part of since then has either been a critical or commercial bust. And usually both. ISS, Wish, Argyle, House of Spoils, Craven the Hunter, and now Love Hurts. While DeBose has still managed to shine in several of those films, new action comedy Love Hurts finds her outrageously miscast as Rose, a femme fatale love interest for protagonist Marvin. Now, DeBose certainly looks the part, though none of the charisma that won her an Oscar is on display at all. And worse than this, her romantic chemistry with Ki-hye Kwan, an actor 20 years her senior, mind, is absolutely non-existent. Even accepting that an older actress would have probably been better suited to this part, DeBose shows not a shred of the magnetism that made her a star. Number 3, The Weeknd, Hurry Up Tomorrow. Now, to be completely fair to Abel the Weeknd Tesfaye, the singer-songwriter has only a few acting credits to his name to date. Though considering how widely panned his performance was in HBO's doomed drama series The Idol, didn't seem like he could possibly go any lower. But he almost impressively one-downed himself in Trey Edward Schultz's new psychological thriller Hurry Up Tomorrow, a companion film to the musician's own album of the same name. Here, The Weeknd stars as a fictionalized version of himself, who, while struggling with depression and insomnia, is ensnared by an obsessive fan. And while Jenna Ortega does her best to work with the wildly uneven material, as the protagonist who appears in almost every scene, The Weeknd has nowhere to hide, ensuring his deficiencies as an actor are firmly laid bare. Sure, he nails the singing, but anytime he's asked to emote or give anything more than a basic line read, it's incredibly difficult to take him seriously. Don't be shocked if he scores a Razzie nod or even win outright for this shambolic performance. Number 2, Gal Gadot, Snow White. Beyond being yet another uninspired live-action Disney remake, Snow White was in no way aided by Gal Gadot's risible clunker of a performance as the evil queen. Many heads were turned the moment that Gadot was cast, considering the rather limited extent of her acting abilities and the literally hundreds of superior actresses who could have been hired for the part instead. Yet even the most optimistic of observers would struggle to be charitable about her work in this film. Cardboard stiff line readings are one thing, but Gadot's performance also fails to commit to a clear tone, vacillating between bland menace and campy vaudeville on the turn of a dime. The result is a feat of acting that's both maddeningly unstable and still flabbergastingly dull, which is an especially egregious crime considering the iconic nature of the villain she's portraying. Stood next to Rachel Zegler, whose genuinely stellar performance is the picture's only saving grace, Gal couldn't seem more outmatched. Number 1, Danny Dyer, Marching Powder. The marketing for Danny Dyer's new geezer comedy Marching Powder actually suggested a far more interesting film than the one we got, implying that Dyer would be offering up a subversive examination of his own odd man persona for the modern era. But this is really just window dressing for a lackluster comedy that's largely just rehashing the same tired shtick that Danny Dyer's been dining out on for the better part of 25 years now. Tired is definitely the operative word. Dyer seems lethargic and uninterested throughout, which could theoretically work for his middle-aged protagonist Jack Jones, but when saddled with such aggressively naff material, his performance is a total flatline. While it's fair to say that Danny Dyer has a fair share of ropey films to his name, this is easily his most genuinely disappointing work to date. A legit opportunity to offer up a self-aware riff on his public persona, and one which he and filmmaker Nick Love summarily squandered.